Hi guys, I'm going to try and get through this video quickly because it is getting dark outside and I don't want to put on the lights. I wasn't a massive fan. As you can see, the fringe is pinned up. I can't stand to look at it. I just can't deal with it. So it is getting pinned up until it grows out. So today I wanted to talk through how I can afford to build a house by myself. So I get this question a lot when people find out that I basically built this house by myself in terms of I financed it myself. I don't have a mortgage on it, and it raises questions, like not in a bad way, but people are just like, oh my God, how did you do that? So I wanted a place to just sort of talk this through. Nothing groundbreaking, I don't think, but it was a accumulation of lots of different steps that I took over a few years that allowed me to do this basically. And before you start commenting things like, well, I can't do that, I'm talking about things I did that my situation allowed me to, that meant I can afford to build without a mortgage. Now, not everything is going to apply to everyone, but hopefully it will give you an idea of, either ways you can do the same yourself and take out some nuggets from here, or even if it helps you get inspired in some other way to do something else to achieve another financial goal, hopefully that will help. So without further ado, let's kick off. Okay, I'm going to try and put these in as much of an order as I can, but the first thing on my list, I didn't do necessarily with the intention of it helping me build a house, but it was a massive help. So the first thing on the list is moving back in with my parents. So this obviously helped me massively financially because whilst I was contributing and I was paying them a small amount of rent, it was nowhere near what I would have been paying if I was renting in London. So I moved in with them. Yes, when you're an adult and you've lived by yourself, that's not the easiest choice. Now, I have a really good relationship with my parents, but obviously when you're adults and you have very different lifestyles and just ways of doing things, it can be difficult, and it can be difficult to live with someone again in terms of like, oh, where are you going? What are you doing? And stuff like that. So it wasn't easy, but it was a massive help to the financial situation. And I don't know why, I've mentioned this in videos before, but I don't know why there's this stigma that I see in the UK about people living with their parents when they're older. It's actually fairly common in Poland, and it is a massive, massive financial help. So that was the first thing. The second thing was paying off all of my debt. So if you followed me for a while, you will know that I had a lot of debt previously. And also if you watched my latest video, you know I'm sort of back in debt, although this time it's good debt, if you will, because I purchased land with that. But I paid off all debt so that I could focus on my goal of building that house and of being financially free, if you will. So I really, really focused on paying off debt and then on saving as much as I could. Now, the third thing that I did that helped a lot was once I moved out of my parents' house because they were moving to Poland, I was really adamant on not throwing money away on rent still. So I essentially got on the property ladder through shared ownership. So I purchased a flat through shared ownership in London. So this meant that whilst I was paying some of my money in just rent because I purchased 40% of my flat, at least some of the money I was paying was going towards my own capital. It meant that I could make money on the sale. I didn't in the end because I sold much quicker than I expected. But had I stayed longer, I would have made a percentage, 40% of the profit of the sale. And I was paying generally far less than I would be if I was renting as well. So I could have rented a room somewhere, but I didn't really want flatmates, and at least not to that extent. And I felt like there was more opportunity for, well, there was opportunity for, not more opportunity. There was opportunity for capital appreciation. But like I said, didn't end up happening because I ended up selling. The fourth thing was choosing a more affordable location, so Poland. Now I know not everyone can move to another country, but obviously if you can, if you speak another language, or, you know, even if you don't, if you could move to another country that generally speaks English. So Poland, most people now learn English and speak some sort of English. So you probably, I would say, would struggle if you moved to a little village like I am. But if you moved to a bigger city, you would be fine with speaking English. So if you are able to pick a cheaper location, so whether it's moving from an expensive city to a cheaper location in your country or to another country altogether, that would really help, because it means your goal is that much smaller, not just for building, but for living, right? So that also helps. I was originally planning to move to a small village in England, so that could have also been a possibility. I would have needed more money, because this house pretty much cost me about £100,000 to build. Whereas if I moved to a small village in England, maybe I would have needed like 150, 200, probably would have purchased maybe rather than bought, I don't know. Still doable, but just would have taken me a lot longer. The next thing I would say is doing a lot of research, because I did a lot of research on how much it would cost, the kind of house I would want to buy, how much the labor, how much the materials, all of that I researched. And that helped me with the next one, which is number 6, I think, which is to set a goal. Because without a goal, you're just like, oh, at some point in the future, with some amount of money, I will do this, which this sounds silly, but it's just easy to ignore or find unachievable if you don't work out this goal. So yes, I went a bit over budget. I didn't think it was going to cost me as much as it did, but still I had the goal of however much, I can't remember the exact figure now, but it was a bit less than 100k. And then I figured, like, you know, it will probably be 100k altogether with everything. It ended up being a bit more than 100k, but having that goal of 100,000 meant I could see the end of the goal and just visualize it better and see the progress percentage-wise every time I was putting money away for this. The next thing that a lot of people will probably say is that I had a good job, which I did, and I don't try to minimize that. I did make a lot of money. I was on 65k a year, which is a huge amount of money. But a few things on that. Firstly, I had outgoings, right? I lived in London. Living in London is not cheap. So I had quite high bills. I had debt I needed to pay off. I worked really hard to get that job. I didn't make that much for like my whole career. I started off on 16,000 and then I just kept going up the ladder, working really hard to work my way up the ladder, and applying for promotions and not being scared to apply for promotions. So I've talked about that before as well. And the final thing to mention on the whole having a good salary thing was this only really helped me to achieve my goals sooner. Because yes, I achieved it really quickly, and I'm really thankful for that, but I would have still achieved it. It's just if I made, I don't know, half the money, I would have achieved it in twice as long. So it's easy to look at me and say, oh, but she made a lot of money, so that's how she did it and I can't do that. It's just not true. In my eyes, in my view, it's just an excuse, because time will pass anyway, okay? This is the way that I see things now. It's, oh, I don't want to do this because it will take me too long, but that time will pass anyway. And okay, maybe you can't do it in 3-4 years, but can you do it in 6? Because that's only an extra 2 years, and those 2 years will pass really quickly. So that's my thinking. Number 8 is that I wasn't complaining about being tired, about not having time. I side hustled at every opportunity. I was teaching English, I was doing YouTube, I was working in a restaurant and a bar, in my main job, like every part of my life pretty much I was working. And I know that sounds miserable and it's not for everyone, but I just think if you really want something, that goal will give you the fire within you, not financial independence, but like give you the fire within you to do that. Like I was fueled by this goal of, okay, if I achieve this, the quicker I achieve this, the quicker I can get out of this corporate ladder, the quicker I can like have a house with no mortgage and all of that. So that fueled me and allowed me to, again, put more money aside towards my goals. So like I said, I worked part-time, 0 hours in a restaurant and bar. I taught English. I still teach English, but like I'm talking past tense here. I did cat sitting and babysitting, mostly cat sitting, and dog sitting, really, pet sitting, let's say. Those were like the 3 main additional sources of income. And then I started doing YouTube, which obviously brought me a lot of income too. And doing things like online surveys. I've talked about that a lot. Online surveys, user testing in your spare time. Like, it's not huge cash, but it all adds up, you know. £20 here, £10 there, all adds up over time. And those were things that I was either putting into paying off debt or into investing. Okay, the next thing I have to say, because it's just a fact and some people aren't going to like it, but you can't argue that this helped me achieve this goal quicker. And it is the fact I don't have children, okay? Children are expensive. Okay, no matter how much you love them, actually probably the more you love them, the more expensive they are because you want what's best for them. I don't have kids, so I don't have those expenses going out. I don't have to think about those things. And I was quite young when I started this whole fire and building a house sort of journey. But don't let that make you think that just because you have kids or you're older means you can't achieve this, because I truly believe if you really want something and you focus everything on it and you do everything you possibly can, then everything is possible. The next one, number 10, I stopped buying a lot of things. So stopped doing things like lash extensions. I stopped buying additional things, additional items of everything. So why do I need 5 shampoos? I don't. It was really just a mindset of, would I rather have this or would I rather achieve my house build quicker? And that really, really helped. So linked to that is the next thing, which is living frugally. So not living cheaply, but living frugally, buying quality over quantity, not going out as much because, you know, eating out, drinking out, all of that stuff is mega expensive, especially in London. So, you know, I would rather have a drink at home with a friend rather than going out. And again, that really, really helped. The other thing I would mention here under living frugally actually is one of these things that kind of illustrates a little bit of you need to have money to save and make money. But whenever things that I used often were on sale, I would buy a few more of them. So I know this contradicts things like, why do I need 5 shampoos? But if I know that, for example, this is a good example of something that happened recently in Poland, but I'm going to use it as the type of thing I would do back in England. So Oatly barista milk, my favorite milk ever. They didn't have it in Poland until now. And in order to enter the market for 24 hours, they had a buy one, get one free sale. Now, this milk costs £2, right? For 1 milk. I go through 1 milk per week, generally. So £2 per litre, I think they're litre bottles or cartons, £2 rather than £1. So I'm like, okay, why would I pay double when I know I buy one of these every single week when I can get them for £1? So I got 15 of them, right? Because I had the money to do it, and long term, it's going to save me money. So again, this takes a little bit of thinking through, a little bit of planning, and actually having a little bit of a financial cushion that allows you to do this, right? Because it wouldn't have made sense for me to, I don't know, put it on a credit card or something. But yeah, that also helped a little bit. It is getting a little bit dark now. So number 12 is I started investing. Now, I want you to listen to me really, really, really carefully here. I am not saying in any way, shape or form that if you have a goal of building a house, you should start investing your money, because it sort of contradicts what you should be doing when you're investing, which is you should be investing only cash that you won't need in the short term. So you should only really be investing money that for a long time you won't need, like you'll be okay without. So this isn't something that I would say you should do intentionally, but it's something that helped me a lot because I got lucky. And when I was building and I was running out of cash because I was going over budget, my investments were grown enough that I could sell them off at a profit, which means that that profit from those investments helped me to achieve this build because it had grown. But again, had I gone in with the mindset of I'm going to invest all of my money for the build and hope that it grows by the time I need it, knowing generally just sod's law, if you will, it would have been that, oh my God, I need it, but I'm 20-30% down at this time. And what would I have done? So don't take this as like, I should do this, but this video is sort of how I could afford to do it, and this helped, so I'm mentioning it. Okay, I need to speed this up because it is getting quite dark. So number 13 is that I started buying materials when they were cheaper or on sale. So for example, I knew that prices were going to go up in January, so I bought a lot of things in December, saving myself money that way. Now this worked most of the time, but one time it didn't work because the styrofoam, it actually went up in price. It actually went down in price. But most of the time it worked, it helped, and I saved money. Okay, last but not least is essentially DIYing what I can. And I kind of don't mean myself because I can't really DIY much. I mean, I DIY'd a lot of my garden, but in terms of the house, pretty much most of the inside finish was done by my uncle. And obviously he's not going to charge me as much as an external company would. So again, if you know someone, if you have a friend or a family member who does these things, it might be worth seeing if they can do it for you for cheaper. I'm out of breath now. Hopefully this was useful. I don't know